Hey Maurice, are you all alone again? Are you lonely because Taliesin has been playing so much Classic? You poor thing.
Hey, Evitel!
Tally? What on earth is that?
It's my new Deathwing mount. It's from the 15th anniversary event, which obviously hasn't happened yet, but I got mine early because of my amazing connections at Blizzard, which I definitely have.
Really?
Yeah, and also because I know loads of people who are really good at data mining, but mostly because of the contacts though, okay?
Okay, sure, but you can't just abandon Maurice like that, Taliesin.
Yeah, of course I can. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've got a Deathwing mount. Honestly, why would I ever need another mount, like, ever again?
Beware.
What was that?
I don't know.
It sounded like a DBM warning.
Well, that's silly. Why would there be a... Ah!
Taliesin, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. For some reason, Deathwing just did a barrel roll, and I'm sure it was a total one-off, and that I'll be fine from now on. Because... Ah!
Taliesin, do you need any help?
No, I'm completely fine. I'm sure I'll be absolutely fine if I just hold on. Ah! I miss you, Maurice. Never leave me again.
Knowledge is power.
Hello, Internet, and welcome back to another weekly reset, Taliesin and Evitel's Wondrous Wisdomshow, and it is another jam-packed week, I'm afraid, with classic progression and controversies, 8.2 PTR updates and raid testing, new essences to discuss, new models to perv over, new interviews with J Allen Brack, but before anything else though, Tentacle Watch. Because on Thursday night, players logged into BFA, if they logged into BFA because you know Classic, to find that their Eye of Nzoth, the scary cool hat eye bestowed upon them by our Lord and Saviour of the Tentacly Depths, if they were still wearing the Eye of Nzoth, because you know, transmog, had begun to whisper to them in-game. And when I say whisper, I don't mean like a soft and soothing mutter. I don't mean the seductive caress of a sweet nothing-zing lover. I mean this. The cacophonous, never-ending screams of unnumbered, slavering, ravenous maws. Now, if you don't think that sound itself is horrific, then actually, what's wrong with you? But even if you don't find this a terrifying sound to be coming out of the eye hat you're wearing on your head, there's the fact that it never stops. These whispers were on a continuous loop for hours and hours, never ending. I purposely kept on the Eye of Nzoth, even though it kind of ruined my transmog, all this time because I was convinced that something would eventually happen with it. I just didn't know that that thing would be to actually send us mad with its overwhelming noise. This shit doesn't stop. Or at least it didn't through Friday, because as of Saturday morning, the terrifying mind-bending hellscape wasn't constant, and just happened for a little bit at login, which, okay, is much more pleasurable play experience, I can't lie, but is a bit disappointing for a true believer like me, who respected the audacity of it all. I'd like to have seen it gone further. I'd like to have seen it get louder and louder, or eventually start messing with our UI, so that everything anyone says to us, including quest text, appears in impenetrable old god language, or all of our spell icons are just tentacles, so eventually we have to cleanse the gift of Nzoth or the game simply isn't playable. Because I think that is actually the overall aim here. On the 8.2 PTR, the gift is gone for everybody already before you even get there. I think Blizz want the eye hat, as in the hat with the eye in it, not an Apple beanie that links to your phone, gone by the start of the next patch. And what does this all mean anyway? There are some who say that new NPCs in Boralus and Zandalar who didn't have the gift of Nzoth before have now come out as members of the Tentacle Master Race, although some people say they were always there from the start. But whichever is true, this must all be pointing towards something, right? But what? It would be a surprise if 8.2 were to suddenly drop on Tuesday, for sure. But might we see more Nzoth activity build over the coming weeks in anticipation of the new patch? We'll be keeping all our eyes on it for you, because I know you probably cleansed your gift, and that's fine, that's okay, you shouldn't feel bad about that. You'll just be the first on the block when the time comes. Nothing, sorry, no, we'll keep you updated. And now let's talk some Classic for a bit, because whereas 8.2 stuff is exciting and constant, There is no doubt at all that it's vanilla that's been capturing everyone's imagination for the last couple of weeks now, with Blizzard opening up Warsong Gulch for testing this week and implementing the new honor system too, sending Twitch into a fresh frenzy of rabid classic views, which is absolutely the main thing, because don't forget, this beta is only for streamers and content creators and not for you, Scrub. Seriously, because like, how many Twitch subscribers do you have, Scrub? Ha, exactly, well, no beta for you, and also because you didn't tick the beta box and don't have an active subscription, but mostly because you don't even own a Stream Deck. Honestly, what's the matter with you, Scrub? So for many players, last week's stress test was the first legitimate opportunity that they would have to actually get into Classic and see it for themselves. It still wasn't an open beta, and it may have only been for 24 hours or so, but it allowed a substantially larger number of players to be included and get their 2004 on. Now obviously the whole purpose of a stress test is to check on server stability, in this case the new layering technique, and just generally how the game copes with larger than usual amounts of people all being there and pressing buttons and existing. So it wouldn't have been a surprise to many when there were big queues to get into the game, disconnections, people getting stuck at character create, and all the kinds of things you might expect to happen when there's too much stress on a server. Really? Until eventually the entire thing was put into lockdown. So whereas those who had hoped to experience the vintage charms of Classic for the first time may have been disappointed in those initial couple of hours of madness, especially when they saw the fun that those inside were having, with the devs letting loose with massive boss spawns and fun times, most people, especially on the forums, were able to accept that their enjoyment and satisfactory experience of the game was not actually what was being tested in this case, and that even if they did get stuck on the outside looking in, they'd still played their part in a pretty monumental moment in the history of WoW Classic and helped provide Blizzard with the information they needed to really make sure that they nailed it when no, it was a shit show, obviously. What a piss take! Gee, that would have been fun to see had I made it past the character creation screen. Login Simulator 2019. Oh, that's cool. I wouldn't fishing, no, because I spent entire time trying to get in. Seems like Blizzard placated streamers and used the rest of their customer base. Quite candidly, Blizz did a really shitty thing tonight. And look, I know it sucks when you see people having a really fun time in a game that you want to play and can't get into or didn't get invited to yet. I know that fear of missing out, and I feel it too. I was really looking forward to this stress test, but I accidentally went out with some friends and missed it. And when I woke up to see pictures of the fun people had and the huge community party it turned into with Cthulhu and Onyxia and developer Omar trolling on his paladin, I felt really sad that I hadn't been there, but it seems a bit churlish for a beta stress test to be criticised for struggling with the volume of players attempting to get in. Doesn't it though, really, doesn't it though? And there's a couple of points I want to address here. The least important one first, this idea that streamers are somehow getting placated or given special treatment is something you're hearing a lot. I've even heard people say that it's essentially only streamers in the standard beta, but I would just ask you to think about it like this. There are 2,000 people in those two test realms, probably considerably more now since invites are going out every day. How many streamers can you name who are streaming it? How many WoW streamers can you actually name? 10? 20? 50 perhaps if you're a massive consumer of this sort of stuff like me? Even at the most generous of estimates, there simply aren't that many well-known or even unknown creators to fill a 100-person beta, let alone over 2,000, and the amount of streamers in there is a minuscule percentage of the overall population. I get that they're annoying with their personas and their logos and their faces and their bad hair, but honestly, they are not the reason that you don't have a beta invite, and they are not the reason that you couldn't get into the stress test. Okay? Secondly, something that we've talked about a lot before on this channel, the amount of flack that systems like sharding and now layering have received from the Classic community, understandably so, because they are systems that weren't in place in original vanilla WoW. But from now on, I don't want to hear a single solitary complaint about layering, in concept at least, because even sharing people's suspicion of these new processes, as I do, I've always said that people's reactions to the alternative, big server queues, disconnects, a substandard gameplay experience, would be much worse, and that we, as a community, in our negative reactions to things like the BFA launch, which was amazingly slick really, have kind of tied Blizzard's hands on this. So of course they're going to prioritise everyone being able to log in over genuine vanilla integrity. And this test pretty much proved my point, because there is nothing more vanilla than not being able to get into the game in the first place, okay? If you simply couldn't log into Classic for long stretches at a time, That's the real 2004 experience right there. But can you imagine if that genuine vanilla pain really was replicated in Classic at all? The community would label it a massive fail. Heel vs Babyface would make countless videos about it, and every comment on those videos would be, do you guys not have phones? If people are legit saying Blizz did a really shitty thing tonight because players couldn't log into a stress test on a beta for a couple of hours where stuff isn't even supposed to go right, how do you think they'd react if Blizzard didn't put in layering and people were faced with queues hundreds of players deep on August the 27th? And that pisses me off because I don't want layering. I want the real museum piece vanilla experience. But if I was on that dev team, would I trust the community to not melt down completely when that inevitably meant logging queues and server crashes? No way! I'm gonna layer the absolute shit out of those servers because seriously, it's not worth it. In the end, those who were invited specifically to the stress test were, as promised, given 24 hours to play. So after the initial rush, it was totally possible to log on, enjoy the Elwyn feels. And there's another test on the 29th. Where even more people will get a chance to experience Classic for themselves. And that's awesome. Let's get as many players in there as possible. It's great fun, and those first moments when you set foot in that very first starting area you remember from all those years back gives you emotions and feels that you will have totally forgotten about. Even if, especially because stuff isn't always going to be quite how you remembered it. Like, for example, I can't be alone in remembering every enemy in Northshire Abbey as being hostile, even when I started playing through Wrath. So when I first logged into Classic and saw their names in yellow, I genuinely thought it was a mistake. A bug, which obviously I didn't report because I ain't no snitch. And I know a lot of people feel the same, still insisting this is wrong, even though it's definitely not. And this is one of the most fascinating elements of the whole experience for me, the Mandela effect. Not how surprised we all are about how hard Classic is, not how shocked we all are that there's no quality of life, no quest markers on the map, the leveling is slow, none of that, but how a lot of things are actually a lot easier than we remember. This is my experience that I tried to explain last week, which many people simply didn't believe in the comments, but since then there have been some pretty high profile examples of even big legit vanilla brains having similar experiences, with Classicast leading a big discussion last week on how elites were doing considerably less damage than they should. Esfand, Tips Out, Stay Safe, Venruki, players who genuinely really know their stuff, were adamant that in this regard at least, Classic was easier than the original experience. But the thing is, it's not. Blizzard later came out with a blue post that compared Classic with their own internal build, which runs off the original code, and proved that in one of the examples given in the original Reddit thread involving Raxor, actually the numbers were spot on. Everyone just remembered it being much harder than it was. And this isn't me ragging on any of these guys or anyone in the Reddit thread. Esfand in particular admitting that his memory and experience on private servers was probably just incorrect compared to the real data. What's fascinating to me is that so many people misremembered it in the first place, which is totally fair enough. Back when you hadn't been playing the game for 14 years and your warrior who was wearing leather armor because it had more spirit for faster health recovery, because obviously that's what you're gonna do, right? Got jumped by an elite. That elite wiped the floor with your key turning spellbook clicking ass. And that is the thing, that no matter its charms, no matter how awesome it is, Classic will never be able to replicate how shit you used to be at WoW. And I wish it could, because honestly that's something I've started to miss in the weeks that I've been playing on beta. Even not having played vanilla and even being a bit rubbish at WoW, I'm still already too good at this game to properly appreciate the biggest initial challenge that we all faced, which is not how much damage elites did, not whether they were quest markers on the map, not whether the wolves in Northshire were hostile or not, but actually just understanding what this game is. And so there is this kind of Mandela effect that happens where, quite understandably, we think, oh no, I distinctly remember it being harder than this. This must be wrong. People have sworn blind to me on Twitter that there was no rain weather effects at any point in vanilla, something which is stone cold indisputable fact. There definitely was, but even with the evidence in front of them, they might not believe it because that's not how they remember it. It's a really strange phenomenon and just proves how difficult bug reporting is even for vanilla and private server veterans.
Okay, so here's the thing. We are totally going to be talking about new Azerite essences and a surprise couple of J Allen Brack interviews too, but before we get too serious, how about we just take a moment to enjoy the crab mount. It walks sideways. It's ridiculous, and ridiculous to acquire. It's basically the Nazjatar version of the robot gyro wheel from Mechagon, in that it needs you to complete a pretty outrageous list of achievements before it scuttles into your possession, like collecting 1,000 prismatic mana pearls. Yeah, F that. Reach rank 30 with all 3 of your bodyguard follower guys. Lol, right, yeah, okay, no. Complete 30 requisition dailies. Okay, fine, so it's definitely going to take me more than a month. GG. And, buy another completely unrelated mount. But it is the Crimson Tide Stallion, so okay, fine, you win this one, Blizz. There's plenty more besides, which should give at least some of us an overall goal in Nazjatar long after the story and raid content there is over. And that's great. I'm totally down with that. And not just because I'll be able to fly while completing most of it either. I'm totally getting that non-flying sideways walking crab mount, and I cannot wait until next expansion to ride it around everywhere. And also on the PTR this week, Conflict and Strife, a new Azerite essence that enables each class one specific PvP talent in PvE. This is only the 3rd ability that can be really described as spec-specific out of all of the essences, and is obtained through PvP. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, screw that for a game of soldiers. You'd better stop talking about that right now, because there is no way I'm going to get it anyway, so it's probably better I don't even know what it does, which is fair enough. But honestly, I think that's the best thing about the new essence system. The fact that you have to do different things in-game to get them. They aren't just boss drops or rep rewards, although some of them are. You're going to have to complete specific quest lines, mythic plus keys, raid difficulties, and yes, some light PvP as well. And if that's not the kind of thing that you enjoy doing, and right now you're sitting there feeling very resentful that you'll have to, remember that to get the lowest rank of any essence is like outrageously easy. Yeah, if you want the legendary version of Conflict and Strife, you need to reach elite PvP rank, and not everyone is gonna do that. But you can get the level 1 version by just claiming a weekly PvP chest, which you can do by collecting Conquest, by completing faction incursions, or killing rares when you control Stromguard or Darkshore, and you won't even have to have war mode on for that. And although Blizzard have said that this essence is in the very early stages right now, some of the PvP abilities at awards will change and there will be balancing. At the moment, if you are Boomkin, Brewmaster, Feral, or Discipline Priest, then you are going to really want them. At the moment, this is such a rough draft of an essence that there's no actual difference between ranks 1, 2, and 3 anyway. It'll be interesting to see how and what kind of power progression Blizzard decide on here, and how they go about balancing things properly. Blizzard President J Allen Brack, oh man, it still sounds weird saying that, sorry Mike, was doing the rounds this week with interviews for IGN and VentureBeat, which were both essentially PR pieces, but can give us some interesting insights into WoW development. Oh, plus in the IGN article, he said the word failed, so now we get to put Blizzard say, "We failed," in the video title, which will guarantee an extra 10,000 or so clicks. For context, he said of BlizzCon 2018, and specifically the Diablo Immortal announcement, "I think that one of the things that we failed to do was to really help articulate that we are a PC gaming company, and that we're going to continue to be a PC gaming company," which is certainly true in the case of the Diablo franchise. You totally failed to communicate that you cared about the future of Diablo on PC, and as most people have said many times over, a simple, "Oh, and by the way, Immortal is all very well and good, but obviously we know Diablo is a PC game, and we've got another PC Diablo in the works," would have done a lot to take the edge off most criticism. We just want to know you're thinking of us, guys. I mean, it wasn't so bad for WoW. We'll get BFA, Classic, and the Warcraft 3 remaster on PC, all in the space of a year with, you'd imagine, a new expansion announcement in November. But yeah, if I was a Diablo player, I'd be pretty down, and if you do care about that game on PC, then you failed to communicate it. I'd agree with that statement. There was some nice chat in the VentureBeat article about his time playing vanilla and BC in his guild, and how much he loved raiding Kel'Thas because of all the different attunements that needed to happen. Yeah, maybe something to think about in the current game? What can be a Fae learn from Classic, etc.? But the most interesting bit for us was when he talked about how they originally discussed Argus being a whole expansion by itself sometime in the future before they made it the focus of 7.3. A decision I think a lot of the player base would be behind even today. Argus still has a bit of a divided reputation, really. Personally, I'm glad it was made part of Legion. After Warlords, that expansion needed to be a big wild ride, and the artifact system, the Legion theme, Illidan, the constant flow of content culminating in going to Argus and fighting Titans on the Demon homeworld. Even if it could have withstood more development and time, I wouldn't trade how outrageous an ending to an expansion that was for anything. We could really do with 8.3 being a similar level of hype.
But that's not all, Evitel. That's not slightly all.
Is it not?
No, there was some more stuff with like Nazjatar and the Eternal Palace raid. There was raid testing.
Ooh, did you do any raid testing?
I never do any raid testing.
Oh, come on.
Because it's the final straw. If I didn't do this channel, I wouldn't do any PTR testing. I wouldn't do anything. I'd probably still do some classic testing because, you know, I have to do PTR testing to get like footage and so that we can review it and so that we can know about it.
Hard.
I never used to do it before the channel.
No,
I hate doing it. It's
the
worst thing. Raid testing is where I draw the line. I'm like, because raiding is like the thing I enjoy most in the entire game.
Yeah.
And I will watch some streams of it, but I will not test it. Yeah, I watched some streams and I saw like the room and stuff because it's the first time we've seen it in action. We'd see like data mining of it and stuff. And
the room is so cool.
Isn't it amazing though? And I still think because like it's this big pressurized like bubble basically with all fish kind of swimming around going under the sea, where it's better, down where it's better. And like it's brilliant. It's copyright strike now on this video because that singing was so good. That
the algorithm will like get in there and be like, I detect the original recording.
The algorithm will be like, huh? Someone's playing the actual CD soundtrack of Little Mermaid.
You know what my favourite part of that room is?
What?
Sexy female stoic heads. You know what I mean? They're so cool.
I think I know what you mean. You mean Titan heads?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good. They're kind of like Easter Island, but like really sexy and with helmets on.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of like, And those are the seals. Those are the things that Azshara's trying to break to like destroy the bubble.
I love it.
And that's what's forcing you to use. She's not really trying to break them.
Right.
She's trying to force you to fix them so you don't die with your Heart of Azeroth. So she can go, I love that Heart of Azeroth though.
Yeah.
Oh, power for my master, my tentacly overlord.
What do you think? What do you think about the little games you can play with Queen Azshara?
What do you mean with the emotes?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you emote at her, if you emote rude or you emote spit or something like that.
Yeah.
Because the whole point.
Angry.
Oh, is that one as well?
Angry is one as well.
Okay, so it used to be that she just flat out killed you straight up.
Yeah.
Like if you spat on her or did anything nasty to her or rude, she'd kill you.
Yeah.
Now that's changed in the testing. Now, if you do that, she'll make you vomit.
Yeah,
like uncontrollably.
And then there are other options too.
Oh, right.
You can be transformed.
No, what?
Into a giant hulking, you know, like the Naga bodyguards.
I
like
hadn't
the big
seen
beast
that.
ones. You can be transformed. You can turn it into a cloud of dust, which I kind of like.
Wow.
Yeah, there are a couple of different options.
Does that depend on the different emote that you do?
I don't know.
That's ridiculous.
Check the Wowhead article. But then, do you know what she does if you try to kiss her or flirt with her?
What?
So you get little heart emojis over you. She like hurts you for a minute, and I think you're okay. But then you eventually become hostile to everyone around you.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So hang on, you kiss her and she hurts you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And
sounds like my kind of girl.
And exactly, and you get different buffs depending on whether you're rude or polite. If you're rude, then it's just her like displeasure with you. If you try to kiss her or love her, it's her disgust.
Ah, that's so awesome. And it makes you hostile to the rest of the players.
Yes.
That's so cool. There were some questions I was hoping to answer when we saw this fight in action. One was why on earth it begins with like an actual play. Like, it's the final fight of a raid, okay? And she's like, we've been waiting for you for so long. I hope you don't mind that we indulge in this a little bit. And they put on a play. And the
What?
first two mobs you fight are like the actors in this play, the tragic lovers, okay? But they just also happen to be like big naga brute things who want to kill you. But they're like, oh, behold, the tragic lovers. And it's kind of like weird because it's not really very well done. So it's like, she goes, oh, the tragic lovers. And then two mobs come and try and kill you. And it's like, why? I think I get why you're doing this. I think I get the flavour of it. You know, they're like, she's it's that thing where she's toying with you. Because like she could kill you at any moment.
Oh, yeah.
But what she's trying to do is to get you to draw out like the power of your Heart of Azeroth for reasons. Yeah. So that's what she's trying to do, and like it's to kind of show that she's like so at ease and she's so in control.
Like you're not a threat.
Yeah. It's like we're gonna have a little bit of fun. We're gonna have a bit of theatre. Here are the. So I get it. It's just still a bit weird. I know. I was hoping there's gonna be lights or something, or like a stage or something. That would have been amazing.
A little script comes up.
Yeah, it'd
line
be so
by
cool.
line.
And they get angry when they get the lines wrong and then come out and kill you.
Yeah. That
Yeah, it'd been
makes sense.
awesome. But no, they just appear and they just come for you. But apparently, it's like people have tested the fight, say it's really good fun. No one I managed to find got past the very transition from phase 2 into phase 3.
Okay.
And that transition is where a lot of like the more revealing dialogue happens, which we have had data mined, but we haven't seen it in context. So that's what I really wanted to see.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm aware, no one got past that bit. So, and that's when testing finished, was when someone did get past that bit.
Of course.
So like, yeah, totally. So that's like that's something I was really hoping to see. But so I guess we're gonna have to wait and see on that one. Thank you for joining us today. If you liked this video, don't thank us. Thank our patrons who give their actual real life money to make all of our videos happen. And guys, thank you. Without you, there'd be a whole lot less Taliesin and Evitel.
Yeah.
For starters and for finishers, there would be no beginning. There would be no end. There would be no Taliesin and Evitel.
Wow.
So thank you. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. Remember, my name is Stay Safe TV. I hope your clicking ankles didn't get on the microphone then.
I hope
spoiled
not.
my big moment.
Sorry.
No, my name is Taliesin. From me
And me, Evitel.
until next time. Cheerio.